Hi, I'm Micah Halpern. Thank you for joining me today as I do some thinking out loud. Our first segment is called Background Briefing. The first thing I've been thinking about is Jews leaving New York City and making Aliyah to Israel. Our friends are leaving. We miss them already. They are making Aliyah. They, the family, is moving to Israel. The expression in Hebrew is making Aliyah, Aliyah. In Hebrew, Aliyah means to ascend. Going to Israel, which is where our friends are so many others throughout the United States and Europe are going. It is an ascension, an elevation. It's a spiritual rise. Throughout the millennia, Jews have referred to going to Israel, even when traveling for short trips, as an Aliyah. Moving there forever, obtaining Israeli citizenship, is the ultimate form of Aliyah. Leaving Israel is termed Yeridah, or descent. The term Yeridah is used within Israel also, even when someone travels from Jerusalem to another part of the country. From Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, they ascend. From Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, for example, they descend. The metaphor should be obvious. Jerusalem holds a special place in the minds and the souls of Jews. If Israel holds a historical and spiritual meaning, all the much more so Jerusalem. Jews have been making Aliyah for centuries. All kinds of Jews, secular Jews, religious Jews, ultra-Orthodox Jews, Jews throughout the world, from Eastern Europe, Arab countries, to the United States. Jews from metropolitan cities and from small towns and villages. Jews of all ages, some as families, some as students. Jews of all walks of life, at all stages in their lives, move to Israel. They make Aliyah. Original Zionist thinkers like Theodor Herzl, the father of modern political Zionism, envisioned a state of Jews as a refuge, a safe haven. Even as early as the late 1800s, they saw the creation of a state for Jews as an immediate and practical response to the rabid anti-Semitism enveloping the world. You will not be able to change the anti-Semites, they reasoned, so abandon them and create a state, a place where Jews live together. Today, things are different, and yet they are the same. If Jewish life and living as a Jew is your priority, then living in Israel is the way to fulfill your goal. Jewish life in America, as in other parts of the world, may feel vibrant, perhaps too vibrant for some, but in Israel, Jewish life is all-encompassing. The language, the calendar, the holidays, the food, all Jewishly infused. The rabbis of the Talmud even referred to the air of Israel as being holy. In Israel, Judaism isn't something you do in synagogue, or on the holiday, or on the Sabbath only. It's who you are at all times, with every step and every breath you take. In Israel, Jews built a uniquely Jewish society. In Israel, Jews are responsible for their destiny and for the destiny of all others there. From all religions who have joined them in the Holy Land, they're responsible. For centuries, Jews prayed for their return to Jerusalem and the rebuilding of Jerusalem. Living in Israel with Jerusalem as her centerpiece is both a religious and political fulfillment of that dream. It's not always easy. In fact, it often rips at your soul to make Aliyah. Ripped because while you're fulfilling your dream, the rest of your family, parents, children, siblings, close friends remain behind. Family dynamics shift. As uplifting as it is to make the move, it can also be profoundly saddening. Milestones and life's moving moments will no longer be shared in real person with those you love. Put bluntly, the hardest part of making Aliyah is not the new language or the bureaucracy. It is the gaping distance between you and the people who are not joining you in this momentous, monumental move. Anti-Semitism has risen in large swaths of the world, but to say that Jews are fleeing their host countries for security of Israel is not true, totally true. Jewish bodies and souls are pulled to their ancestral homeland. Since the horrors of October 7th, Israel has been, as the world knows, at war, and Jews are still making the move. And yet, a conservative estimate puts that number, the number of Jews who have made Aliyah since October 7th, at over 50,000 people, from infants to elderly, from about 100 different countries. The move is not about safety or politics. The move is about going home to a place that has been the focus of attention and prayer, of history, of memory, of identity, and of yearning for more than a mere centuries. Indeed, for thousands of years. I will miss our friends, and yet I know that they are following their hearts, and that gladdens my heart. Coming up next, Points of View. First up is a column from Ynet, and it's authored by Yedidya Stern, published on July 4th, 2026. The column is entitled, America at 250, a triangular relationship, U.S., Israel, and Jews is at risk. Opinion, subtitled, a sober look at this triangular relationship shows that each of its sides has weakened in recent years. This is how Stern begins. Since its founding, the United States has seen itself as a shining city upon a hill, a nation with a moral and democratic mission meant to illuminate the world. Over 250 years of American independence, that self-image has been translated into an inspiring reality, not only economic, military, scientific preeminence, but also a source of values, a bastion of freedom and progress. This milestone birthday for American nation is also an appropriate moment to examine the relationship between America and the Jewish people. There is no doubt that this shining beacon has cast abundant light on the state of Israel and Jews around the world. Without it, the Jewish story would have looked very different and far bleaker. Stern now explains how the close bond between Jews and the U.S. became so strong. The links were critical and essential. There was a symbiosis between them, he writes. The bond between America and the Jewish people deepened in the 19th and 20th centuries, when the United States opened its gates to some 2.5 million Jewish immigrants from Europe, most of them destitute. As a result of this immigration, one of the largest in our history, by 1910, there were more Jews in New York than in any other city in the world. In this way, many Jews and their descendants were spared the fate of the 6 million who perished in Europe during the Holocaust. Now Stern shows how President Truman continued the bond as he recognized the state of Israel, 11 minutes after Ben-Gurion declared independence in 1948. Stern writes, President Harry Truman recognized the state of Israel 11 minutes after it declared independence, and later spoke of Israel in uniquely moving terms. I believe that Israel has a glorious future before it, not just as another sovereign nation, but as an embodiment of the great ideas of our civilization. These words would echo again and again from the mouths of every president who followed him. Stern explains, through the years, the bond rested on bipartisan support, Democrats and Republicans supporting Israel. He explains, relations between the two countries rested on bipartisan support from Democrats and Republicans alike. They stood on two firm pillars, a partnership of values, as Republican President Ronald Reagan put it. In Israel, free men and women demonstrate every day the power of courage and faith, and a partnership of interests. As Democratic President Bill Clinton said, when people ask me what the greatest achievement of our foreign policy has been, I think of the partnership between America and Israel. Between these two pillars stands North American Jewry, the largest Jewish community in the world outside of Israel, with a central and highly influential voice in American public life and in relations with the state of Israel. Stern refers to the relationship as a triangle, U.S., Israel, and the Jewish community. That is essential because without seeing the triangle, you really lose track of the analysis. Because the Jewish community was the glue that actually tied all the sides together. He writes, for many years, an exceptional, important triangular relationship has existed among Washington, Jerusalem, and American Jewry. Over the past several decades, all three sides of this triangle have benefited greatly. The United States has benefited from its connection to the two other sides of the triangle. Israel serves as values-based and security outposts in the turbulent Middle East, helping to defend shared Western interests. The United States has been blessed by the immense contribution of the Jewish immigrants who became leaders in science, culture, technology, banking, and many other fields. It is not fanciful to say that America's rise was strengthened in part by the extraordinary talent, energy, and ambition brought by Jewish immigration across the Atlantic. American Jewry, too, flourished because of its ties to both of the triangle's other sides. Israel served as a central focus of Jewish identity and a source of pride, while America provided a safe home that opens its doors and enabled a degree of prosperity unique in Jewish history. Stern explains that Israel benefited greatly from the relationship too. He writes, "The same is true of Israel. Its reliance on America's many-sided support and on the flourishing Jewish community of North America has been a blessing that scarcely needs description." But strength does not last forever. Sober look at this triangular relationship shows that each of its sides has weakened in recent years. On the Washington-Jerusalem axis, American public support for Israel has declined significantly. Worryingly, Stern explains that things are unraveling, that there is a need to repair the connections. It won't be easy, but it is essential, he says. And this is what he writes. Significant parts of the Democratic Party now voice sharply critical positions toward Israel, while even among younger Republicans, the once instinctive warmth towards Israel can no longer be assumed. On the Washington-American Jewry axis, changes are also evident. Waves of anti-Semitism from the fringes of both the American right and left have raised fear that the golden age of American Jewry may be coming to an end. In conclusion, Stern writes that the cracks need to be sealed. It will not be easy, but they must be mended. He explains that Israel, especially the next new government on Israel's side, must work hard to mend the rift. He writes, finally, on the Jerusalem-American Jewry axis, cracks are visible as Israeli governments have failed to invest sufficiently in cultivating the vital ties between the two branches of the family. The gaps between an American Jewish public that tends towards liberalism and an Israeli society that tends towards conservatism are growing wider. The unfortunate facts are clear. Israel's position as a central anchor of identity of North American Jewry is no longer what it once was. The government formed after the elections will need to think anew about how to strengthen each side of this triangle. This will require renewed investment in bipartisan support in Washington, serious encouragement with younger Americans across the political spectrum, and a deliberate rebuilding of trust between Israel and the diaspora Jewry. The resilience of we, the Jewish people, depends on the success of this effort. This is a very important and insightful column. Thank you, Professor Stern. Next up is another column from Ynet, authored by Kobe Barda. It was published on July 6, 2026. It's entitled, "The First to Recognize Christian Zionism as Israel's Strategic Ally." Subtitled opinion, "How did the late Prime Minister Menachem Begin forge one of the most significant political alliances between Israel and the United States?" This, by the way, is an exceptional piece about how Prime Minister Menachem Begin tapped into the charismatic Christian community and gained their support, harnessed their support, literally, for Israel. It was transformative, and the U.S.-Israel relationship is different because of it. This is how Barda begins. Menachem Begin brought about a historic shift in the way the State of Israel viewed its international alliances. He was the first prime minister to identify the potential inherent in the deep bond with Christian Zionism and turn it into an unparalleled strategic partnership. While parts of liberal American Jewry were wary of embracing conservative Christian streams, Begin understood that in the changing world of the Cold War, Israel needed true friends motivated not only by political considerations, but by fervent religious belief. The most important contact was Reverend Jerry Falwell. Prime Minister Begin tapped into his energy, his influence, which had a huge impact on Christian views of Israel. And this is how Barda writes. The central figure in this story was Dr. Jerry Falwell, a charismatic preacher and the founder of the Moral Majority. Was not only a religious leader, he was a powerful political force. Begin recognized Falwell's influence, and the two became personal friends. That friendship went beyond courtesy meetings. Falwell became a direct channel to President Ronald Reagan, whose 1980 election to the White House was driven in large part by Falwell's support. Thanks to Begin and Falwell, Israel became a core issue for tens of millions of Christian Zionists who saw support for the Jewish state as a biblical moral imperative. This alliance created an impressive historical continuum. When Begin led the legislation of Basic Law Jerusalem, it was Falwell who used all his political power to advocate for moving the U.S. Embassy to the city. This was not a move that happened overnight, but the result of painstaking work that continued for decades. Falwell bequeathed to his son, Jerry Falwell Jr., not only the Liberty University empire, but also an unwavering commitment to Israel. His successor, Jerry Falwell Jr., was among the key activists who led the evangelical community to support Donald Trump's candidacy. Now Barda links that connection to today and to President Trump. He writes, that support was not in vain. President Trump, who felt a deep obligation to that voter base, did indeed keep his promise and move the embassy to Jerusalem. It was the moment that brought the historic circle begun by Begin and Falwell to a close. The embassy relocation was not an isolated event, but the culmination of a process that began in the 1980s when Begin laid the foundation and Falwell built upon them the walls of Christian Zionist support. In conclusion, Barda explains how critical the link is between the Christians and Israel. He writes, in retrospect, it is clear that without Begin's connective vision, which saw Christian Zionism as a natural partner, Israel's political reality in 2026 would look entirely different. He succeeded in turning Christian Zionism into a significant protective force in the international arena. Today, as Israel enjoys broad support among tens of millions of evangelical Christians, it is worth remembering the first step Begin took when he understood that a true friend in Washington, one who believes in the Bible as he does, is the Jewish people's most important strategic asset. Wow, this is so true and so important. Thank you, Dr. Barda, for a tremendously insightful essay. Coming up, commentary through cartoons, where pictures tell the story. I want to show you 8 cartoons today. The first cartoon is entitled The Peace Agreement. Trump is pushing Bibi out of a picture he's taking with the Iranian Ayatollah. The idea is that Trump is more interested in the deal than protecting the region, especially protecting Israel. It's a biting critique. Next up is a chess game. Trump is playing the Ayatollah, but Bibi's hands are actually moving the pieces. Trump looks back and says to Bibi, with a question mark, as if to ask, what are you doing? In other words, Bibi is controlling Trump here, controlling the game. The next cartoon, which has Trump as a bomber, he's dropping Bibi an Israeli tank. The obvious message is that Trump is in control and Bibi is doing his bidding. There is a clear conflict in messaging between the cartoonists. Some cartoons show Bibi controlling Trump, while others show Trump controlling Bibi. This cartoon is actually entitled Trump, Netanyahu, Iran Deal, Hormuz. Next up is a cartoon that has a dove of peace with the peace deal in his mouth and the Strait of Hormuz underneath the dove. The cartoon is entitled Iran-US Peace Deal Straits, and Dove. Next up is a cage called Lebanon with Israel and Hezbollah inside the cage, a cage fight. Trump is watching on one side, while the Ayatollah is watching on the other side. The cartoon is entitled Cage Fight, Lebanon, Israel. Next up is a cartoon entitled Trump in Underwear on Iran Deal. It depicts Trump in his underwear wearing a MAGA hat and holding a blank page with only the words Iran Deal on it. Sadly, this image is showing Trump near naked with no options. I am not certain that that's totally correct. Our second to last cartoon is called Dirty Peace. Trump and the Ayatollah are shaking hands in the water, clearly the Hormuz, and Bibi is in the water below them, eating Trump's famous red tie. Dirty Peace is an understatement. And our final cartoon is entitled Netanyahu Caught in a Handshake. The US and Iran are shaking hands and Bibi is being squeezed. This is a common theme where the parties, Iran and the US, are not interested in Israel, and the reason, they're only interested in themselves. In a moment, more of my own perspective and a few predictions. The United Arab Emirates denied an earlier report by Reuters news agency that claimed it has not transferred funds to Iran. No frozen funds have been released or transferred from or through the United Arab Emirates, the statement said. Earlier, two sources told Reuters, though, that the Emirates would release $10 billion for the Islamic Republic, while other sources claimed it was about $20 billion to be unfrozen as a condition for halting Iranian attacks. One of the sources said that a first installment of $3 billion has already been made available to Iran. Reuters noted it is unclear whether the funds originate from Iran accounts blocked in the UAE or from the country's own funds. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi claims that as part of the agreement with the United States, Israel would withdraw IDF forces from Lebanon. He further declared that the management of the Strait of Hormuz will not return to its pre-war status. Sovereignty over the strait belongs to Iran and Oman, he said, and that's it. This is going to be a big issue. A senior official in the U.S. administration said that the U.S. believes there is a deal with Iran, a strong deal, and that with the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, they will be involved in clearing the mines. The official also said that the U.S. President Donald Trump will meet as part of a working meeting at the G7 countries with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and will dine on Wednesday at the Palace of Versailles with French President Emmanuel Macron. On the sidelines of the meeting, he will meet with the leaders of the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and other leaders from the Middle East. And he also plans bilateral meetings with leaders of France, Egypt, and India. The official noted that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will not attend Trump's meetings with the Middle East leaders. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Russia is in contact with Turkey regarding the S-400 air defense systems that Ankara purchased from Moscow. It's their most advanced Russian system, which, according to the report in Turkey, at Hurriyet newspaper, were sold to a Persian Gulf state to pave the way for U.S. to sell it F-35 aircraft. Peskov added that this is a particularly sensitive issue because it's their best anti-aircraft weapon. We've been thinking out loud about a lot today. Now that you know what I've been thinking, let me know what you're thinking. Email me at micah@jbstv.org. Tweet me at Micah Halpern. Tell me what you think. Before we end, let me leave you with one piquante piece of information. This short clip is an Egyptian commentator on Egyptian national TV explaining how Egypt lost the World Cup match against Argentina because of Israel and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. The leader of Argentina, Milei, who has visited Israel numerous times and even prayed at the Western Wall, and Messi, the greatest soccer player of all time, or certainly of this time, he's been playing, he's 39 years old and he's still playing, visited Israel also. The conspiracies and the tall tales are so ridiculous that they are laughable. But this was on national TV in Egypt. That is why there's so much hatred of the Jew and of Israel around the world. This kind of fiction, it's all over the place. Watch this.
نتيجة طبيعية المنظومة فاسدة. مصر النهاردة كانت بتلعب الأرجنتين والفيفا وإسرائيل وبتلعب حاجات غريبة جدا بتحصل في الماتش بتاع النهاردة. مصر بيتحط لها ليميت، ما ينفعش تعدي الليميت ده، ما ينفعش علم مصر يترفع، ما ينفعش علم فلسطين حسام حسن ينزل بيه الملعب قدام يعني 7 مليار بني آدم بيتفرجوا بيتابعوا كأس العالم. ما ينفعش، مش مطلوب إن الصورة دي تظهر. فريق زي الأرجنتين فريق إسرائيلي بامتياز، هو ورئيس الأرجنتين اللي أقرب صديق أقرب رئيس لبنيامين نتنياهو هو الرئيس الأرجنتيني الحالي. ميسي زار إسرائيل أكتر من مرة وبيلبس الطاقية بتاعتهم وبيروح عند حائط المبكى يقعد يصلي لهم هناك ويتقابل مع نتنياهو مع سارة نتنياهو وصاحب يائير نتنياهو هو اللي واخده في أمريكا بيلعب في انتر ميامي. هو اللي عمل القصة. معروف علاقة ميسي بإسرائيل، معروف علاقة أرجنتين بإسرائيل. احنا عملنا على عينا الحمد لله ومبسوطين جدا ان وصلنا للمرحلة دي. يكفي ان ميسي المعزة ده خارج بيعيط بيبكي عشان فاز على منتخب مصر. ادينا اداء رجولي، ادينا اداء بطولي، لكن اسرائيل كان الفيفا قصدي الحكم كان ليه قول اخر، فما نقدرش نتحدى كل الظروف دي.
Unbelievable. Thank you for thinking out loud with me, Micah Halpern. Let's think out loud again next week on JBS.